From a devoted believer in Lumon and Kier,
Hi, Mr. Milchek.
to a man watching his entire world burn,
You smug motherfucker.
Irving B in Severance captured everyone's heart. However, his journey wasn't just tragic and beautiful, it also revealed something much bigger about the entire show, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. But before we can understand Irving's brilliant character and how it connects to the series, we have to go all the way back to the first scene of Season 1.
Who are you?
Who are you? That's the first line of Severance, and like everything else in the show, it's there for a reason. It represents the overarching dilemma of the series, the big question every character is struggling to answer. Whether it be Mark trying to piece his memories together, or Mr. Milchek figuring out his place in this odd company, it's all about coming to terms with your identity, what you stand for and who you will stand behind. The show is obviously illustrating this process through the Innies and Outies slowly merging into one being, seen in the intro for both Season 1 and 2, as well as the whole reintegration process that Mark and Petey goes through. However, if you actually want to figure out what this confusing series is trying to tell its audience, these examples could almost be seen as irrelevant. Why? Because you're looking in the wrong place. Instead, you have to understand the driving force behind why these characters find these identities through each other and through the most powerful feeling in the universe. Could you guess what emotion I'm hinting towards? Well, it's obviously love. And this is where Irving becomes important.
I'm sorry. What time is it? I have to go.
Although affection and connection is the common theme that each of the 4 macrodata refinement employees experiences, Mark with Helly, Helly with Mark, Dylan with his outie wife, and Irving with Burt, the difference, I think, is that the latter relationship is what leads the way for the Innie revolution, as well as causing the most dramatic and genuine shift of mindset in any of the characters. This change is also something outie Irving is involved with, and I will get to that in more detail soon. If we shift our focus to why Irving's transformation is so powerful, it all comes down to his delusion, his almost brainwashed loyalty at the start of the series.
Were you about to bedsit?
But this character behavior wasn't by accident. The writers needed you to feel that way to be able to convey why Irving chooses to change. But I'm getting ahead of myself. In the beginning, if you look at his eyes, they were filled with hope, happiness, and innocence, something that only increased when he met Burt from optics and design.
Most people only think of O&D when new handbook totes come in.
Well, I love those too.
Their relationship is so wholesome, yet it's more than that. It's a test of Irving's loyalty to Lumon, but also a test of his ability to see the world beyond dance breaks, deadlines, red balls, and wellness sessions. It opens up a new world to him, a world where Lumon perhaps won't be the #1 priority, and this is a thought that scares Irving, not because he doesn't want to feel that way, rather because he slowly realizes that he might have been wrong about this place the entire time. So when the person that quote-unquote revolutionized his brain gets taken away, the truth gets more clear than ever before. And I would say that this is the most powerful moment of his character.
You're all just gonna stand here and let him die?
Now I know what you're thinking. How could I possibly put this moment ahead of episode 4 in season 2? But before you run away from this video like Mr. Milchek running from Dylan, Let me explain. What makes this moment so good is that you as the audience, along with his fellow co-workers, finally realize something. We realize that Irving is clever. He wasn't just a clueless, obedient, always saying yes employee, rather a detective-like figure, just like his outie who had pieced together the Lumon lie. He had been noticing Helly's anger, Mark's confusion, and everything else twisted that had happened. He saw through Mr. Milchick and even called it out.
You're not severed. You walk out of here with your memories. You carry them home with you every night. No one can rip them away from you, snuff them out.
The shift is instant. 1 second he is the hopeful, devoted worker, the next cold, angry, and hateful. It's such a contrast to his old self, which is why it's a brilliant scene, like someone flipped a switch in his brain, and from that moment forward he would never go back.
Let's burn this place to the ground.
While Wool's Hollow is the grand payoff for his character's changed attitude, this is the scene that made it possible, that captured the message of Severance. In other words, it's the scene when Irving chooses his path in life, the scene when he finds his own identity. But what about Outie Irving?
It's me again. So, they fired me. I think they know what my Innie was up to.
Even though the exact motivations of Irving's outie remains a mystery, as the series progresses, the gap between the two sides of his mind begins to close. Like I mentioned earlier, Severance is ultimately about reuniting these two halves, both physically and mentally, and the show's writing captures this brilliantly. You can feel that with each passing day, each character is inching closer to that inevitable collision, only that the closer you get, the more complicated it seems to finish the process.
Well, if Lumon ends, then what happens to every Innie on the severed floor?
There is no doubt that Irving's outie has been working against Lumon, plotting its secrets, leaving behind clues and trying to send a message to his Innie, and that alone tells us much about who Irving truly is at his core, someone deeply passionately opposed to the twisted philosophies of Keir. But here is where it gets really complicated, because as much as we want to believe that these two versions of Irving are the same person, they're not. They exist in completely separate worlds, shaped by different experiences, and that raises a massive question, one that might not even have an answer. If Innie Burt had never retired, would Irving's Innie ever have changed? It's impossible to say, and that's exactly why the story Dan Erickson and Ben Stiller have created is so fascinating. There is no easy way to merge these two halves, no simple resolution. But despite everything, despite the separation, the amnesia, the lies, there is always something unspoken when Irving and Burt meet outside of work. A flicker of familiarity and a connection that neither of them can explain.
Why were you at my house the other night?
I don't know.
It wasn't you at all, was it?
It's absolutely the reason such a complex and multi-layered concept like Severance works so well, because it somehow creates this indescribable connection between Innie and Outie. I don't know about you, but I still find myself rooting for Outie Irving to end up with Outie Burt, even though their relationship only exists in the Innie world. Why? Because something about it still feels recognizable, even if you can't quite put it into words.
This was fun. Yeah? Yeah. So we should do it again sometime.
Then, as you might already have thought about, there are characters like Helly and Helena, where we clearly favor one over the other. But yet again, despite how different the Innie and Outie might be, the person's core idea always finds a way to shine through. In Helly's instance, she's trapped in a system far bigger than herself, one where both sides of her existence are at war. Her Innie fights against her Outie, while her Outie wrestles with with the expectations of her powerful family. She is her own greatest battle, and a perfect example of this is her strange conversation with James Egan, where she seems to embody her own worst nightmare. In other words, what her outie aspires to be.
There he is.
These connections could be found in all of the Severance employees. There is Mark, a man searching for purpose, even if he doesn't fully understand what he's looking for. His journey is one of quiet desperation, slowly unfolding as he pieces together the truth about himself and the world around him. Dylan, on the other hand, is defined by loyalty. While he might seem like the most carefree of the group, his devotion to people he loves runs deeper than anyone could have expected.
I hope someday she sees in me what she sees in you. If I'm being really honest, I guess I like knowing you're there.
And then there is Irving, someone aching for connection, whether it's his deep bond with Burt or his quiet longing for something more. You can feel the weight of his solitude in every scene.
I'm ready. We can't. We can't.
This is the key to understanding Severance, the key to why Irving calmly accepts a non-existence over a life without Burt, why Mark chooses Helly over Gemma, and why Dylan, in theory already married, still proposes, because these experiences define who they are. But Severance isn't the only story about identity control and resistance. The Lord of the Rings explores these same ideas in a completely different way. So click right here to explore a video about that topic. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.